truth.
No chaser.
Welcome to Truth No Chaser. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jay.
And I'm Frank. And this is the podcast for Black people, by Black people, about everything Black.
This is a shot of truth stirred with bold opinions, reversing the miseducation of the Black community as it relates to culture, health, and politics.
And speaking of politics, we are at that time of the year, fellas.
It is time
Midterm elections. Votes, votes, votes.
Y'all remember the Rock the Vote campaign?
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Barack the Vote and Diddy the Vote. Yeah.
I need stuff like that back, man.
With somebody taking the
Get
lead.
people more excited.
People more excited to vote. I remember, that was kind of dope. Because that was actually before Barack, right? That was
that was original.
No,
that was the original.
What was his name? Kerry. Yeah, that was a Kerry campaign.
Oh, John Kerry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
I remember that, man. Didn't work, but
right.
I felt like,
that part didn't. Yeah, we need to be excited, especially in Georgia, about voting, especially in Georgia. Once again,
because who are we? Two brothers. Well, brother-ish.
I was getting ready to say, you want to call him brother? He ain't coming to the cookouts.
Brother-ish.
He's not coming to the cookouts.
Uncle Ruckus.
two men of African American descent.
Uncle Ruckus, I like that.
Right. So listen, let's set the framework for this episode.
Right.
Let's get it.
Everyone, this episode we felt was very important. Our program director, Mr. Frankie Glenn here, raised it. And because we're always thinking about our community, as he said in the onset, this is the podcast for Black people, by Black people, about everything Black.
Yes, sir.
Now, in accordance to what I said, reversing the miseducation of the Black community,
yes, sir.
We feel that it is our duty to just present to you all some very general. We're not trying to be election experts here.
Right.
We may give you some resources to go on to, something like that. Mm-hmm. But we're just giving you some awareness, some things to think about, some understanding of the key issues of the importance of the midterm elections.
Right.
If y'all follow any politics at all, you've been hearing, listen to the radio, the midterm. The midterm elections are vitally important. Why? Because most of the things that we complain about, most of the things that affect our lives, we all vote for the presidential election,
right?
But most of the things that affect our everyday lives are decided by those who are in power as a result of the midterm elections and our local government elections.
Yep, absolutely.
And as I say all the time, when we're coming out of 2020, it feels like it was yesterday, but such an impactful year. We rioted, we protested, we did so many things. And we were angry, but we didn't know who to hold accountable.
Right.
We wanted police chiefs fired, but we didn't understand who hired the police chiefs.
Right.
We wanted laws changed as far as, police brutality, but we need to understand who makes those laws in your state.
Absolutely.
We need to understand who has the power to, unemploy those police chiefs. We need to understand, we are all in a bind right now. We are all feeling the effects of inflation, which I'll talk a little bit about and as we go on in the show. But we're all our pockets are feeling it. We need to understand what our vote in this midterm election has to do with that, because you've been hearing a lot about that. You've been watching the campaign as the end of the day, every football show, or every good show.
Yeah.
You watch it,
so many.
You watch a good show to get away from the serious parts of life, and here they come.
Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker beat his wife's ass 5 times. Is you sure you ready for him to leave Georgia?
Right.
They be playing dirty with them funk campaigns, don't they?
He's a reverend that don't even believe in redemption.
I will never ever vote, because I don't even think I've done anything half as bad in my life as it, but they gonna dig it up.
Oh, they gonna find it.
They're gonna find it.
They gonna find it.
They gonna Frankie
Glenn,
fed his students spoiled milk. Would you let somebody like that run your
Frankie again teaches in plaid pants?
Yeah. Who the hell would teach in plaid pants? Vote Jay Stroud.
This how they do. They be like, Frankie Glenn.
They set the tone.
This how they do. Clowns wear plaid pants.
Yeah.
Frankie Glenn
Frankie
Glenn teaches in plaid pants. Do you want a clown teaching your children?
Do you want to turn this country into a circus?
Right.
Don't vote for the blame.
But in all seriousness, though,
this is paid for by Jay Stroud.
Pay for by Jay. And they do that. They throw that shit in real quick. Pay for by Jay Stroud.
And again. But here's the thing. As silly as that shit sounds, there are people
absolutely
who watch that shit like, hell yeah. And then you see them in Lowe's. They're going to have a goddamn circus clown teach math to my kids. I'll be damned.
I'll be goddamn.
And they believe that shit.
Oh, absolutely.
And they vote counts just like yours does.
Yes, absolutely.
It counts the same.
And the crazy shit about it is it's embarrassing because we just don't sound like he just said, like hillbillies and rednecks doing it.
But we still do it.
But I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Like we have to really know who our local officials are, right? Because I was just telling my wife just when we went to go vote, early voting, when it gets down to the end, like the Homeland Security and shit like that, and they start asking you the questions, I'll be like, when they act like, would you like to? For them to resend you be like when they start acting the taxes and shit, like,
right.
It get that to a point where I be like, I don't even like that nigga name, man. Right,
I'm like, which one sounds black?
I knew I wasn't the only one. I mean, look at her, like Amanda.
Oh, you go, this nigga named Jerome.
Yes, Jerome would definitely get Jerome. What is? I'm like,
I'm guilty. I be like, which one sounds black or which one's Democrat? I can't go that one.
What's the other? Incumbent.
I'll
be like incumbent.
I mean, they're currently in office.
Okay. All right, well, let's go for it.
So, but hey, now, there you go.
That is the truth.
So
that is truth, no chaser.
The incumbent means that they're currently in office. So if you don't like who's signing off on building inspections, you just think buildings should be better, then don't vote for the incumbent.
Don't vote for the incumbent.
That is funny.
And I got to redo on it because if they talking about potholes and some shit like that, I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? But hey, listen. So let's get down to it. We're talking about Herschel Walker versus incumbent. I know that word.
I know that word now.
2 words I learned this week: charcuterie and incumbent. Okay,
so that's one of the things we're talking about.
Yeah, it's one of the things we're talking about. Is so Warnock and Herschel Walker. We talked about the debates, right? We watched that. The one thing I'm happy that I did is I watched it after everybody else, because the one thing I did not want to do was come in here with like an already jaded mind, similar to the debates with Trump and Biden. So if you look down, you know how you wait for a second to assess your own, to give your own opinion on like a movie,
right?
So you stay away from Facebook
in the comments and stuff like that. Yeah,
because all people were doing were talking about how stupid Herschel Walker is, right? And that's easy. That's the easy stain. That's the easy target. All right. Okay. That's hard for me, especially as an educator who didn't know what incumbent was, but as an educator that that's hard for me to get over the diction. He's horrible. He sounds uneducated, and that's hard for me to get, because
to ignore.
I've always said that the politics is becoming a shit show.
Right.
Celebrities is not new in politics. It's always been somewhat of a popularity contest. However, they still sounded educated.
Ronald Reagan makes me appreciate him so much more.
Right. You still don't. They still sound like they knew what they were talking about.
Right.
And this guy just doesn't sound like he has a clue. His rebuttals were horrible.
Like a fifth grader.
You know, if I ask a question, and throughout that question, we need a solution.
We need your answer. How you, and not just pointing the finger.
And everything is like, well, as you can tell, Warnock doesn't want to tell the truth on this subject. So that's why you should vote for me.
I was so tired of that.
Okay, nigga, but what?
Answer the question.
And I was like, if you say he voted on 96% of Joe Biden's like if you say that one more time,
and
he
was connecting them together. So if you're mad at Biden, you'll be mad at him as well.
Right. And in the fairness of our audience, to give you information and not our opinions.
Oh yes,
but we're going to give you our opinions because it's our show.
Yeah, right.
So here's
somebody.
So here's my informational opinion. Mm-hmm. When I watch Herschel Walker go against Raphael Warnock, it reminds me of Sarah Palin.
Ooh, good comparison.
And the reason why it reminds me of Sarah Palin because
good.
I remember that chick. Michelle Obama was just as much of a star on the campaign trail for Barack as much as Barack was, to the point where who she was really mobilizing women voters, having them cross the aisles. And the Republican campaign, they had, John, my man that ran, McCain. Thank you. Agree with him or disagree with him fundamentally, he was a stellar statesman for this country.
Yeah,
absolutely great statesman for his country, rest his soul. And it was a shame that his party chose her to be his running mate, who was clearly unqualified to be the second.
Unqualified.
And what it did was I felt disrespected as an American citizen because you chose a winning strategy. The strategy was, now let's get some women voters on our side.
Right.
To go on to combat what's happening on the other side.
Yeah.
And then of course he had, Barack had Hillary in the pocket as far as everyone knew that she was going to get a cabinet position. Now, with that being said, we fast forward to Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. It's clear that the Republican Party said, hey, we need another black guy to go against this black guy. And what that tells me as an American citizen, as a Georgia citizen, an American and Georgia citizen, we're talking about the U.S. Senate race. You're telling me you don't care about giving me the better candidate. You don't care about giving me, so you care about winning so that you can retain power. You are telling me blatantly we are willing to put someone who cannot formulate a sentence.
Correct.
Right. And he cannot formulate a proper sentence.
Right.
And you're putting him in what is arguably the most powerful position in the U.S. government, because if you understand the Constitution, the U.S. Senate checks and balances, but the U.S. Senate edges out as one of the more powerful pieces of the U.S. government.
Right.
That in itself is so. If you're a voter, and we're giving you objective information, we're telling you to take into account.
He's a pawn.
That one party has offered you someone who is designed for them to win and retain power, not to give you the better candidate.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Good point.
In watching this debate, there were some portions, I'm gonna be honest, it seemed like he had Raphael stumped. But before I get to that though, I was talking to my dad before the show, and one of the things that I said to him, I said, the issue is you don't have politicians, you have two Bible thumpers that are jumping in the realm of politics. You understand what I'm saying? Because Warnock said plenty of times, this is what's wrong with these politicians, because he doesn't relate to them. You understand what I'm saying? Of putting, I guess, semantics before morale. You know what I'm saying? Moral, excuse me. So, when they were talking about abortion, and he was talking about pro-choice, he kept referring to the Bible, right? And meanwhile, Warnock is like, this should be the woman's choice. And I couldn't agree with him more, but it did seem like he had him rattled in that one. If you are judging by the applause, Herschel kind of got a not a standing O, but he got a loud roar from that one. And I was just but between that and a few other topics that they debated and stuff like that, funds, the police, when he said Herschel says to him, like, you call the police names and stuff, right? Like, so they Warnock is like, okay. At that point he was like, I had enough of this shit. Like,
that was he was like
as
bad as him pulling out the badge.
Right.
I said, are we watching?
Because that's what you mentioned it.
Saturday
He
Night
said,
Live?
I'm not fake police over here. You know what I'm saying? So they told her, I like,
she put him in his place.
Yeah, she's like we were told not to bring props here. You knew the rules, but he's like, you know, you want to call police names and stuff like that. He's like, where are you getting this information from? And his rebuttal was, I don't know, I didn't write the article. So I'm sitting there like, he just like this average like average man just Googling the Wikipedia
people
and
are
shit.
giving information.
But you know, here's the thing. Watch how it happens.
Articulate it.
Watch how it happens. It was against the debate rules for you to bring a prop,
right?
Whether it be a cell phone, an easel, an article, anything that any object that you bring for visual display to prove a point, is considered a prop.
Yeah.
He brought a badge to prove a point. Now the badge could have been real,
right?
But as accordance to the rules of the debate, it was called a prop.
Yeah.
What did social media call it? A prop badge, implying that the badge was fake. We don't know if the badge is fake or real.
Right.
We don't know. Right. But that's how. But to answer your question, how things take on. Now, I'm not saying this is defense of Herschel Walker, but this is to your point of this is where people get information from.
Yeah.
See, a prop that happened to be a badge takes off on social media as a prop badge.
The prop badge. Excuse me.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And if enough people repeat it, then it's he brought a fake badge on stage.
Right.
Well, who said that?
But Raphael's like,
but was it real though? Because everyone they keep
We don't
disclaiming from the was it Rockdale County or River County said he was a police officer for it, and like that's not true.
Yeah.
Right. That part.
So that's why because I was calling it fake.
And he just.
I believe it's fake too.
Yeah, I did too. Raphael was just like, listen. He was like, I don't know where this guy's getting this information from. I've sat down with numerous police counties and and sat in their homes and spoken with them. So it's like there's no fact check. And Raphael Warnock said that. Senator Raphael Warnock said that he's like just because you say it doesn't make it true.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Just because you say it and it went on a grand stage and
like
you can blatantly sit here in front of these people's faces and lie about something, So between that,
point.
Yeah, it was because it like just because you say it doesn't mean doesn't make it true. Doesn't make it fact. Yeah, so it was interesting.
Now, so let me say this: the reason why, because we know we have listeners and viewers who reside outside of the state of Georgia. We know this is primarily a Georgia race.
Yeah,
and so let me explain, give us a little context in case you all don't know. One of the most pivotal things about the midterm elections, and especially recent ones, and including this one, is the balance of power in the legislative branch of the U.S. government. Many things that you see are happening or not happening are all due to the balance of power in the U.S. government. The fact that we are seeing the investigation and the hearings go on to January 6th, that is being pushed because the Democrats are the majority in that area. Right now, if the Republicans were we would not be getting answers on anything. So Georgia is a critical battleground state that will help determine the balance of power that will make federal laws that are important to all of us, no matter what state you live in. So that is why you in every state, if you're up on politics or if you just follow along a little bit, every state is watching what's happening with this race. So that's why we are talking about this race, even if you are a viewer or a listener outside of Georgia.
Yeah. There was another debate. Did you guys catch? I know I didn't catch it, but it's the second one on the 30th between Abrams and Kemp.
It's going to happen on the 30th.
It's going to be the second one.
The second one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did you catch the first one?
Gubernatorial race. I did catch a little bit of the first one.
I did not. Yeah. So go ahead.
Stacey was well poised. Of course, Kemp had some great points. I'm giving you all information straight down the line. You all know who I rock with. Our duty is to supply you with some info. Kemp can hang his hat on a lot of the state's production, how things have been going economically in the state, besides the things that are taking place internationally. He can hang his hat on the fact that he was able to pass a lot of initiatives that are supported by Republicans in a vastly Republican state.
Okay.
He's hanging his hat on that. Doesn't mean it's a real accomplishment.
Right.
But another thing that's he's able to leverage. Doesn't mean it's actually something in his favor, but what he's leveraging and what's going on with crime and what's going on in lesser, and all Republicans are doing this. Even and so, if you are outside of Georgia, you will see your Republican candidates doing this. They're leveraging crime because most Democratic voters are in densely populated locations, which is another way of saying cities in immediate suburbs. And you guys, we're all experiencing a high crime problem coming out of the pandemic, which has to do with a lot of factors. One being the fact that we're in this halfway state between recession or going back into a booming economy. But right now we're on the lower side of things as goods are high. Whenever money's low, crime is high. It's everywhere. And we're in a situation where we're coming out of the pandemic. Those things are due to cultural and societal factors that are outside of the control of any real politician. The only thing that you can judge is how your local politician may have handled it. And we all saw how things went nastily between Kemp and Keisha Lance Bottoms when she was in office about the handling of things. So so what he's doing is he's leveraging people who have decided they are up in arms with Democratic politics from the local level on up and saying, you know what, I'm gonna rock with you. And he's leveraging things that are necessarily not even in his control or out of control. And the reason why I use the word leverage is because you hear in all of these commercials, crime is bad and inflation and the cost of eggs and milk are up and clothing are up. These are baskets of goods that determine, how we mark inflation, but they're not offering solutions. Because they know damn well the solutions are out of their control to a degree as well. But they're using your despair to say, aren't you tired of the people who happen to be in charge during your time of despair? And that's what they're hanging their hat on.
Gotcha.
I did see, I did read an article where Kemp made a comment about he's trying to clean up the streets of Atlanta from the gangs. And Abrams came back and said, well, it wasn't a gang that took a gun and killed 6 women in an Asian salon. It wasn't a gang that's going around killing all these little kids in these schools.
Yeah, so there's much more.
Exactly.
Yeah, much more violence than just the gang violence, right? Yeah. So it's easy to target the gangs. I'm not mad at that though. I'm gonna be honest with you. As far as cleaning up the gangs, but then it's not the only thing.
But that's so you can't just space it off at just that.
Well, it's funny. You want to clean up. So what does it sound like? Let's look at initiatives here. You want to clean up the gangs, but you want to put more guns on the street.
And that's what she was going a second. Yeah, she's going back.
So what is it that you're really trying to achieve?
Right. It's like a.
Let's be clear.
Oxymoron.
Let's be clear. The Democrats running for any office across the country, they're in the tough spot because Joe Biden's approval ratings are in the toilet. And let's talk about why Joe Biden's approval ratings are in the toilet. Let's address the obvious ones, right? He old. You know what I mean? He old and it's showing. And it's showing bad.
That too.
Uncle Joe. We fell off that bike. I was like, Joe.
Yeah, it's one of the. Are you concerned about him running again?
Listen,
he's not.
And this is not to be. Y'all not gonna hang on me for age discrimination. Right. But what I am saying is, this country has typically, when we're talking politics,
right?
This country, the opposing party to any older candidate has always picked on the fact that someone's age is a way to be less confident in their leadership. Now, I'm not saying either one is true or false, but that's always a picking point. And they've been picking at that. Trump started it, Sleepy Joe, all that. Then the other reason they're talking about how he's handling the economy. Now, there's the state of the economy and there's how he's handling the economy. The reality is y'all mind if I just kind of steal the floor for a quick second?
Right. This is your lane.
When we look at the economy and we talk about recession and we look at good times and bad times, our economy has to cycle. It has to go through highs and lows. It must cycle. Now, when Obama got elected, what was the Republicans talking about? He just wanted, when he was doing the bailout, government spending. He's gonna put our kids in debt, and they're gonna have to, our grandchildren is gonna be paying all of these debts, and everybody's gonna be poor. And what happened? We experienced since 08, we experienced a good 12, 14 years of absolutely robust economy. And when you experience that long of what they call a bull market, this is not financial advice. This is just general financial economic information. It has to bust. The economy's got to pop, and it has to reset itself. And whoever's in power, when it resets itself, the microphone is on, the spotlight is on you, and it's on Joe. So they're arguing with how. So, but people don't know that, right? They just know the economy's going through some shit, and you in charge. It must be your fault. And then the opposite people who want to get in office, they play on that. Now the reality is the only thing you can look at is how they handle it. George W. Bush. The economy popped after Clinton. We had great years when Clinton was in office, and he did make some policies that made it even better. And then George W. Bush mishandled some things that made it much worse than it had to be. So we're looking at how Joe handles it. One of the criticisms of how Joe is handling it is whether or not he is attacking inflation well enough. Inflation, we're looking at inflation, what they call a basket of goods, the things that we all commonly buy as Americans, groceries, clothes, gas. We're all seeing sky high rockets on that. Because we have to buy groceries, we have to buy gas, we have to buy clothing, we have less money for other things that we like to enjoy, and it is putting a strain on us, right? So what the federal government does is the Federal Reserve, they raise interest rates to try to what they call shrink the economy and make those prices go back down. But if you over attack, and this is proven, this happened back in the early 80s, when you overreact to inflation, you end up forcing a recession. So some people they don't like the fact that they don't like the administration's conservative approach to the administration and the Federal Reserve, their conservative approach to inflation. But what they don't understand is that if you overreact to it, you will make things worse. But if you're a Republican trying to get your people in office, the only thing you get is my early point. You can just play on the fact that people don't like the current situation. And Joe's in office and you're tired, but they're not offering any solutions because they know the solution is out of their control.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Who you telling? So to answer, to go back to that other question, like I said, that they asked in the one I can walk debate. Joe, to 2024 up for re-election, right? Are you confident with him? I mean, again,
are you asking me or you asking?
I'm asking you personally.
I don't think he's gonna run again in 2024.
I don't think he's gonna run again.
No.
I don't think he should.
I don't think he's going to at all.
Who's a candidate that you like to see?
Wait, who you talking about?
He's saying that they're asked
Biden,
that Joe,
because you were talking about his age and stuff earlier.
Oh, he can't run in 2024.
Why can't he, Jeff?
Come on now. Come on.
I mean, he's not going to. But why you say he can't?
Come on now.
How old is he now? How old is he?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I don't know who I want to see. I mean, definitely not Kanye, but I mean, I don't know who I want to see.
Gosh, that's a whole other story.
You about to open up some shit.
Yeah.
What they call it? DEFCON 2024. You about to open up some shit there.
Who you think?
We ain't gonna talk about it. I don't know, man. I'm like
she would never do it, but I want to see Michelle.
I'm like Jay. Yeah, it just can't be Joe this time.
I know it's not gonna be. He's not gonna run.
Yeah. So you know what? Just in all, I mean, takeaway from this, like we said at the beginning, just getting better acquainted and affiliated with your local affiliates, especially in the Senate, because this is, if it makes sense as far as the balance of power, it's the hierarchy. So, definitely need to pay more attention to who you're putting in your office. Again, because we live here, we reside in Georgia.
Right.
We emphasize on the first half of this with the Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker debate.
Yeah.
So, but just real quick, another thing that I've forgotten. Uh, when we talking about the 96% of the time he's always co-signing with, that was his accusation that, Raphael Warnock is more concerned with DC than Georgia, right? So
It's got to be both of you a senator.
So
you can't
can we
have
not?
one.
Yeah.
Crazy
Takeaways.
Say crazy shit about it, like, right? So
Takeaways.
Hold on.
It's not Walker.
He's like, I'm for the people of Georgia and this and the third, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm all
Does
about
he even
Georgia.
know where you have? He's
but like you reside in Dallas, Texas for like the last 26 years.
Absolutely.
So, you know what I'm saying? So, like, dude. But anyway, go ahead. What's your takeaway? There?
No, my takeaways, not even just takeaway, but it's what we said earlier, and what Jay stresses to us for years now, is to make sure you're not just voting in the presidential election. You have to make sure you're voting in the local as well, because it makes a bigger difference in your daily lives. So it's not just saying know about the big ones, but also educate yourself on the smaller ones. And absolutely. I'm guilty of that for years. So I know I'm not alone out the TNC out there. It's because I haven't. I never really got involved into it until Jay really started schooling us. 3 years ago,
right?
So takeaways definitely is to make sure you're really educated on more than just the presidential candidates.
Yeah, and don't just watch the commercials.
Yeah,
because monotones. Although they are depressing and entertaining.
Entertaining, yes, very much so.
Especially when they be having like live footage of the woman that got beat. Shit,
right?
She came out the woodwork like, he tried to run me over with the car.
Right. I do like that chick said, "Well, he may not remember, but I remember." Y'all might not be familiar with these commercials outside of Georgia.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that we have followers outside of Georgia. But right.
Of course, we big time now.
No, yeah, people in Russia and Germany watching us.
I know, right? Yo, shout out to, I guess it's Brittany Garner in Russia that's watching this. But I'm sorry.
Right. But got a lot of time on it.
Stop it.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
That's wrong.
We apologize for that. We know we do.
Yeah.
Let's rewind that. Go ahead, Jay. What are you saying? Shout out to
the German people in Germany that we got a little following in Germany. That's what's up. But my takeaways, a bunch of them, very quickly though.
Germany getting their first game this week,
right? Right. We talked about the key races.
Yes.
Not only the ones in Georgia, but other key races. Pay attention
PA.
Yes, PA
is a big one.
Big one. Pay attention to your gubernatorial races as well, because what is happening is the Republican Party, they're trying to separate from the Republican Party campaign and the continuation of the Trump campaign, but what they're trying to play themselves on is what's better for you now. And so with that being said, they're all trying to follow suit. So that plays into how the governors are following the party suit in those races. Also, just a couple of rules of voting in Georgia here. If you're early voting, you can vote anywhere. But when it comes time voting day, actual election day, make sure you pay attention to your proper precinct that you're going to, and that you're the place where you're properly registered to vote. Another takeaway is, again, just understand the information. Read between the lines. Do not accept what is exactly given to you, but give it some critical analysis. Engage in some conversation with people with opposite thought of you. Watch a little bit of news channels. Watch MSNBC. Also watch a little bit of Fox News. Understand what they're saying. Read between the lines. Understand what people's motives are. With some of the hot button issues, probably my final takeaway here, with some of the hot button issues that were recently, crime, guns, critical race theory being taught in schools.
Yeah,
that's something that Trump started, that you're now seeing. That's again going, pay attention to your governor races, right? You saw the Florida governor talking about we're not going to teach that this is stolen land and stuff like that, and they're not going to teach the stolen land and that white people bunch oppressed other people. You're seeing the initiatives play out on a lower level on both party lines.
Yeah,
but understand why your gubernatorial races, but those hot button issues like critical race theory and what is being taught in school, gun laws, people are trying to modern, other states are trying to patternise themselves after what happened in Georgia with the gun laws and what Kemp was able to pass there. Abortion, even though we saw the Supreme Court make that, basically an overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now the argument is, how do we properly interpret the new standard of abortion and what is actually illegal and not legal in what states? So again, who's going to be within your state leadership within your state, as well as who's going to be in leadership on the national level governing these laws. These are hot button issues where the balance of power really does matter and plays an actual role in your everyday life. Now, me personally, I will leave off this one a personal opinion level. For me, I understand. Listen, you can logic me all day, and I will be with you all day. You, especially black men, we've been seeing, especially in Georgia, we've been seeing upwards of 20 to 30, almost 30% of black men voting Republican here in these last few rounds of midterm and presidential elections. I understand every piece of logic that you can give me as to why. But for everyone else, even if worst case scenario, there's a Republican sweep on coming around this midterm and presidential election. Let's just say worst case scenario, if you're a Democratic supporter, I'm speaking opinion only. One thing that I have particularly noticed is that the Republican Party continually drops the ball on basic fundamental human rights. That will bring you back to the table. You will get your nigga wake up call. It will happen.
Amen. Shit.
And before you go, Frankie, your takeaways. Also, we wanted to mention is make sure you bring your IDs. Make sure you are ready to wait on lines because as Brian Kemp passed this Jim Crow ish with the voting rights. So make sure you bring somebody with you. Make sure you have your mask just in case. Make sure you bring your ID with you as well. And do not be frustrated to wait in line. Yeah. This is a very important race, and we have to
bring your
wait
own
in
water.
lines for everything else. So wait in line for this. Bring your water, bring your own food, because they're trying to stop the black vote, as we know, heavy this time. And we've shown out. I think I seen it over 1 million votes already for early voting. I seen also as well. Yeah. So we're turning out, but make sure you can early vote up until Saturday, y'all.
And be excited to vote. What they are predicting that if the Republicans take this, it will be not because Republican voters are coming out or they're stealing people from the Democratic side. But what they're saying is the Democratic Party, typical Democratic voters are apathetic and not excited to vote, and they're going to stay home.
And that is their goal.
Absolutely.
Don't let them do it.
Absolutely.
Frank, any takeaways?
No. I had my takeaways.
So you already voted. Jay, you vote yet?
I did.
I haven't voted yet, actually.
Yeah, I got to vote. I'm going to vote tomorrow. So our biggest thing, Frankie wanted to have this, obviously. We did it last year. We did it with Jerry Benjamin. Shout out to Jerry Benjamin, who's very educated on election.
Yeah.
But
check that episode.
Yes.
Truth No Chaser YouTube page.
And the guest again was Jerry Benjamin. But our biggest goal, obviously, is to make sure that we educate our community to go out and vote. We are all not educated like Jay is. Trust me, this is his lane. We know this. Frankie's gotten better. I'm that voter I think I know, but I don't know. If you don't know, ask questions. If you don't know, Google some stuff and seek the truth out. But make sure, do not say my vote does not count. I hate hearing people say, well, it don't matter if I vote or not. It does matter, and it does count, and it does. So do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, that's a great point. Good job. Bugs me too.
All right, y'all. So again, vote.
Drop them handles on Frank.
Go ahead, Frankie.
Yes.
Got you off guard.
Yeah, it's been a while. So for more information on how you can stay in tune with Truth No Chaser, just visit our website at thetruthnochaser.com, where you can get our fresh merch and all the other things to keep up with us.
Absolutely. And for the visual version of this podcast, please go to youtube.com/thetruthnochaser.
And until next time, keep walking in your truth, Black people.